I do want to talk about dice control. See, I have this system. I put the dice together with the two fours at the top facing me. I shake them together. I say something positive because I want positive vibes. And then I pray and fire. And I take it that's not what you do.
One thing you did say, though, positive thoughts. I'd never write it in a book, but I do believe, as the old saying goes, we only use 10% of our brain. And, we can sometimes make things, I'm not going to say make things happen, but positive thoughts and stuff like that is pretty fantastic. And that's what the craps table is all about. Just as a side note, as a blackjack player, you're playing against the dealer, not the players next to you. I mean, if you win, that doesn't mean the player next to you is going to win. Although, if the dealer busts and everybody's happy, that sort of thing. But it's really a one-on-one game. Versus craps, craps is a team game. I mean, if you're playing the positive side of the game, which 95% of the players play at a craps game, if the player wins, everybody wins. And so it really becomes a rah-rah type of thing, and that's what's so exciting about that game. Come on, shooter. And so having positive thoughts, I think, are really great. But, putting the dice together like you are talking about, Derek, is pretty important. But shaking them is ridiculous. Even if you just put hard ways all the way around and you just grab them, and instead of shaking them, but throw them in the air with a little bit of an arc and maybe with a little bit of backspin, if you can do that, and I think you'd be able to, try to hit the same spot all the time, and you'll wind up having repeating numbers. And what you want to do then is, as far as betting is concerned, is you want to become a come better. You don't want to just place the 6 and the 8. First off, that has a negative edge of 1.5%. As soon as you put the money out on the table, you're down 1.5%. When you put a come bet out, you're at a positive on that very next roll of 1.5%. So you have a positive edge right there when you first put that edge out. But then if you don't throw a 7 or 11, which gives you that positive edge, and it goes to a number, let's say it goes to the 5, and you take one-time odds on that number, you're bringing the edge of that bet down to 0.87, below 1%. That's why you will never hear a craps dealer say to the table, does anybody want a come bet? Now, they're going to say, does anybody want a hard way? Does anybody want a C&E? Does anybody want this, that, and everything else? But you'll never hear them say to the table, does anybody want a come bet? Why? Because it's the best bet you can make. Because if you go with 2-time odds on that thing, you're bringing that edge down below a 0.5 percentage point. That is phenomenal, just with 2-time odds. So you're pretty much playing a 50-50 game if you're a come better. Now, if you pick the dice up and set hard ways, and you try to loft them gently, not whip them down the table, but loft them with some backspin and try to hit the same spot all the time, you're going to find that you're going to begin to get repeating numbers. So that 5, I'm going to throw it again, and I'm a winner. And all of a sudden, the game becomes a game that is totally beatable. And with a little bit of practice, it can really be beatable.
See, this is very interesting because I realize now...
You got to remember one thing, not to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Craps is the only game in the casino where the casino is actually saying to the player, here's the dice, put them in your hands, and beat me. As a card counter, and even as a poker player, you can have the edge, knowing you have an edge with the hand you have. But whatever the next turn card is on the turn or on the river, that is totally not in your control. That can change the whole game. Same thing, as a card counter. I can have an edge, meaning that right now I have a high count, and there are a lot of high cards left in the deck. But it's still the flip of the card. I can get a 16, and the guy next to me gets the 21 blackjack because it's the flip of the card. Craps is, here's the dice, throw them. As long as you follow the rules of the game, you can, beat me. There isn't another game in the casino that you could get as big of an edge at as craps when you become a dice controller.